This is Kevin. He was born around 1968 in Glasgow, Scotland, where he grew up in a city still scarred by post-industrial decline, poverty, and the lingering shadows of sectarian tensions, together with gang culture that defined parts of Scotland's west coast in the late 20th century. By his early 20s, he had already begun a criminal journey that would stretch across decades and borders. He eventually moved south, to Kent in England, where his offending escalated from street-level crime into something far more calculated. His official criminal record stretches back to at least 1990, beginning with a conviction for wounding with intent. Prosecutors later described this as the foundation of an unsafe behavioral career. By the mid-2000s, Kevin had become a hardened armed robber. In December 2005, he and an accomplice, David, carried out 2 separate armed raids in the Kent area. The pair targeted businesses with weapons, using speed and intimidation to seize cash and valuables. Kevin held up staff at Chastilian Road Post Office, in Dartford. He threatened them with a gas-powered air weapon and forced the till open, before taking about £500 and fleeing with getaway driver, David. Within minutes of the armed robbery, the city's police mobilized with practiced efficiency. Patrol units raced to the scene while dispatchers broadcasted a detailed suspect description, vehicle details, and direction of travel across every channel. Detectives canvassed witnesses, pulled nearby CCTV, and ran partial plate numbers through databases, while forensic teams looked for more evidence. 2 weeks later, on December 16th, the pair struck again when they robbed a petrol station owner in Northfleet. Their victim was carrying £3,500 in cash bags and was heading to the bank when he was held up. This time, police had more to go on, and the duo were arrested later that month. At Maidstone Crown Court in March 2006, Kevin McCarthy pleaded guilty to 2 counts of robbery, 2 counts of possession of a pew-pew with intent to commit robbery, and being in possession of a gas-powered pew-pew. And on the 16th of June, David McCrudden changed his plea from not guilty to guilty, on 2 counts of robbery. Kevin McCarthy and David McCrudden were sentenced to 8 and 9 years respectively. Investigating officer, Detective Sergeant Rob Haynes said, "Both men committed very serious offenses and caused a great deal of distress to the victims. Although no one was hurt during these incidents, this does not detract from the seriousness of the offense, and we fully support the court's actions." It was a significant term for Kevin, but one that would prove to be the beginning of his long descent into the high-security prison estate. Prison did not rehabilitate Kevin McCarthy. Instead, it became the arena where his most chilling pattern of unsafe behavior emerged. While serving his sentence for armed robbery, he was housed at HMP Dovegate, in Staffordshire. On a routine day in 2011, in the prison's lunch queue, Kevin struck without warning. He had fashioned a crude but sharp-bladed article from a toothbrush. He attacked a convicted P3DO, causing extensive damage to his throat, in a cold, deliberate strike aimed at unaliving him. The assault was frenzied and premeditated. Kevin pleaded guilty in court and received his first life sentence. The court recognized the attack as a calculated bid to unalive a fellow prisoner, in one of the most vulnerable moments of prison routine. That life sentence did not deter him though. Kevin was transferred between high-security prison facilities, eventually landing at HMP Whitemoor in Cambridgeshire, one of Britain's most secure Category A prisons, holding some of the country's most dangerous and disruptive inmates. Whitemoor's dangerous and disruptive wing housed only the 10 most problematic prisoners on the estate. Kevin fitted the profile perfectly. Prison life continued, seemingly without incident, but nearly 5 years later, on the 2nd of October 2016, Kevin's unsafe behavior returned. Lunch was being prepared on the prison wing. Damien Fowkes, another lifer, serving a minimum 20-year term, for the attempted unaliving of Ian Huntley, was standing in the queue. Without provocation or warning, Kevin struck from behind. He had spent time crafting a new homemade bladed article. He grabbed Fowkes and inflicted damage in a single swift motion. Fowkes collapsed with life-threatening neck injuries. Only the fact that the damage was not quite deep enough, and the heroic intervention of prison officer Alexander Stewart, who threw himself between the men and disarmed Kevin, prevented an unaliving on the spot. There was no obvious motive. Some prisoners later mentioned a petty dispute earlier that morning, over Kevin failing to take his turn cleaning the kitchen, but prosecutors described the attack as premeditated and planned. Kevin had deliberately manufactured the bladed article for this purpose. It was the same signature that he had used before, and the attack sent shockwaves through the prison service. Fawkes was rushed to hospital. He survived, but the scars and trauma would be permanent. In May 2017, at Peterborough Crown Court, via video link from prison, Kevin McCarthy pleaded guilty to attempted unaliving at the first opportunity. He sat sipping from a mug, showing no emotion as the judge delivered his sentence. Kevin was given a further life sentence, with a minimum term of 18 years to serve, before he could even be considered for parole. This was additional to the life sentence he was already serving. His Honor, Judge David Farrell QC, praised Officer Stewart's outstanding bravery in stopping the unaliving. Sadly, prison officer Alexander Stewart had been suffering from an illness for some time, and passed away in May 2017, just days before Kevin's sentencing hearing. Because of his passing, the judge requested that his family be formally contacted, so they could be made aware of the court's immense gratitude, and the official judicial commendation for his extraordinary bravery. Today, Kevin remains behind bars. His record now includes wounding with intent and armed robberies, 2 documented attempts on fellow prisoners' lives, 2 life sentences, a pattern that has made him a byword for institutional unsafe behavior, and a permanent fixture in the high-security prison estate. From the streets of Glasgow to the razor-wire perimeters of Whitemoor, Kevin's story is one of escalating unsafe behavior. A man who entered prison as an armed robber and transformed himself into something far darker, a predator who hunts other predators, using the very routines of prison life as his hunting ground. The courts have repeatedly ruled that he poses such a danger that he may never be released. For now, and for the foreseeable future, Kevin McCarthy's world remains in the concrete corridors and steel doors of a maximum security cell, exactly where the British justice system intends to keep him. If you'd like to hear about more true crime from the UK, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. And, if you'd like to know why Damien Fawkes, Ian Huntley, and Anthony Russell were imprisoned, please take a look at my other videos.